welcome to the Takarazuka Fan Podcast, the podcast where fans from all over the world talk about Takarazuka. It's been a while. I'm Carly. I'm currently in Tokyo, and I'm here with Maizy, who has been on the World of Dreams podcast, the first World of Dreams podcast, but otherwise, this is the first one.
Yeah, with all 40 people in the hotel room from the original podcast. I'm Maizy. I am from the United States. I'm from Seattle, but I currently live in Tokyo.
We're
as well.
Sitting in Maizy's apartment in Tokyo, and it's unseasonably warm.
It's starting early this year.
And yeah, today we are going to talk about all of the Hoshigumi shows that have thus far taken place.
Three most recent.
In 2019.
Yeah. A very belated Elbe review.
And the two that are still running, so it's not belated overall.
True.
But before we get into that, Maizy.
Yes.
What is something that has been making you happy in Takarazuka lately?
Something that has been making me happy in Takarazuka lately, aside from the Sky Stage Hatsubutai specials, which are incredibly cute for seeing anyone you've ever loved as a baby. Nanami Hiroki Kai's Instagram, recently retired Hoshigumi actress, is beyond my wildest dreams as a fan of hers.
For everyone who hasn't seen that yet, can you quickly describe how she is currently using her Instagram?
Absolutely. So she started off with a grid of 9 pictures that all together made her face, but included such things as an individual picture of her shoulder or of her nose. But altogether, it's a really nice 9-photo grid picture. And since then, so as not to disturb that set of 9 photos, she has been posting 3 heavily framed pictures at a time.
So they all kind of look like a matching set.
Yeah, matching sets. A lot of like filters that make the pictures in the shape of like hearts or stars or the numbers 7 and 3. Just very good.
And each of them also have like 10 photos in the set. So she's
really we're getting like 30
hard.
pictures at a time. So I'm very happy to still see her wearing her ill-fitting suits and like living her best life, apparently.
Yeah, so
that's been making me happy.
If you'd like to see some pictures of Kai having changed exactly 0%, please go check out her Instagram.
What's been making you happy?
Ocean's 11.
Want to tell us more about that?
I came to see Ocean's 11 and it was very, very good. I expected to like it because I love Soragumi, but I liked it a lot more than I expected also because I've watched the other 2 versions and they're fine, but Oceans has never been one of my favorite shows, but I had a blast and I think the Soragumi casting is great and I highly recommend it for anybody who has a chance to see it, or if not, when it comes out on DVD. It'll be out
soon, I think. It's coming out kind of early.
Is it?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great and I love it.
Oh, and you saw the Shinko as well.
Oh yeah, and I did see the Shinko. I love seeing Shinkos. The Shinko was good. I just really like seeing who is there, down there,
on the stage,
below the upperclassmen.
Yeah, true.
Even if they're bad, like even if the Shinko's a disaster, which it wasn't, but even if it is, I very much enjoy watching Shinkos.
It's nice to give them a shot. Me too.
It's just, especially as a fan from the United States or any fan from overseas, it's very difficult to see underclassmen unless you are in the theater because they don't really show up on the DVDs. So like you either have to wait 6,000 years for the recording of the Shinko to show up on Sky Stage and for somebody to record it for you and for you to receive it or whatever, or you need to go to the theater and like watch them hanging out in the back or whatever. So I like to do it whenever I have the opportunity because it's like one of the only ways to find out who's up and coming.
Yes, that's true.
Yep.
Nice.
Okay, so Hoshigumi. I feel like when this podcast started, we talked about Hoshigumi all the time because we had so many Chie fans, and I feel like recently it's been somewhat underrepresented. But
Chie is doing, a side note, a wonderful show that appears to be on ice.
Yeah,
there was a video of her learning to ice skate that surfaced the other day, and she does not know how to ice skate.
It sure looks like she has a lot of work to do between now and when the show starts, like 2 months from now.
I'm very excited to see how that turns out.
I don't know if there's gonna be like...
I'll go see it.
Please go see it and report back. Yeah, I don't know how intensely they're going to choreograph her ice skating situation.
Hopefully
but
not vary from what I've seen.
Sure still struggling to move forwards and backwards.
Yeah,
so.
I don't even see her try to move backwards.
Oh boy, and she's wearing a helmet. I'm sure she's not going to be... Thank God, true. I'm sure she's not going to be allowed to once the show actually starts. But yeah, anyway,
so
I don't
Chie
know.
is on ice.
Do you know what that's called, that show?
No idea. I'll look it up.
Yeah, we'll look it up and then I'll put it in the blog post. But yeah, Chie on Ice. That's coming up in August also, which doesn't make sense for a show that's on ice. Where can they...
It'll be nice.
Is there a building in Japan that they can keep cold enough in August to have an ice show?
Let's find out.
Probably. Ugh, it's so hot here in August, and I'm not excited that it's already hot here in May.
Boy, me neither.
Anyway, so the first show of 2019,
chronologically,
both for Hoshigumi and in general, because they were the New Year's Day opening show, was Near Deeply Foggy Elbe, or however you make that in English.
I think that's correct.
Yeah.
Beside the Deeply
Foggy. There's a number of ways to translate it. We both saw this. Maizy saw this significantly more times than
I did. I saw the first... I did also see the first day in Takarazuka.
Yeah.
And then
the last day in Tokyo.
And the first day in Tokyo. I saw it plenty of times.
You saw the whole spectrum.
And because I really liked it, and I didn't expect I would really like it at all. I didn't expect to like that or Estrella's, and I went in there for, like, various reasons, very nervous, and, like, tepid isn't the word, but, like...
Yeah.
Kind of like, lukewarm. I wasn't that excited. And then I saw it, and I cried a lot. And then I started understanding it more after, like, the third time, and then I cried more every time. I thought it was very beautiful.
I also liked it very much, and I also liked both Elbe and Estrella's a lot more than I expected to. Yeah. I think, like, we were specifically talking about Estrella's before, like, when it was announced, the director did Viva Festa, which is not my personal favorite.
Your mileage may vary, but definitely not my personal favorite either.
And also specifically, like, not super good to Miriam as her Titan. So I was
nervous.
Concerned about that too. But I really liked both of them.
It was so good. Very surprised.
But yeah, let's start with Elbe.
Okay, so
what were some things that you liked about Elbe?
Some things that I liked about Elbe, besides the fact I did actually like the story a lot. I don't, as a person, I don't usually appreciate, like, sad stories very much, partially because my Japanese isn't very good. A lot of sad things are sometimes, I don't know, like Nihon Mono, for example. I don't get them very well. I also just prefer comedies and, like, American musicals as a whole. But, so I guess I appreciated how this story still grasped me. It did have a lot of tropes that I appreciated, like the class difference in the romance.
Oh, yeah.
Which really gets me. Some other things I enjoyed about it were... I thought the aesthetics of it were stunning. I loved the costumes. I loved the way they used the beer matsuri scenes, like, weaving between the other scenes to make the what's it?
Like the story, like the whole time the, like, action is going on.
Like, I understood where we were.
Yeah, there's, like, a big multi-day festival going on in the background, and, like, stuff happens, and then people will just, like, come in and out, and it's like, oh, that festival's still going on.
Which is, like, a main point. Yeah. They make it in several scenes, like, oh, you can still hear the songs.
Yeah. And the whole thing kind of takes place, like, Carl, the main character who Benny plays, is, like, a sailor, and the ship is, like, on land for, like, I guess a couple days, like, before they ship out again. And, like, so I think the festival constantly going on in the background does a good job giving you, like, a sense of, like, that this is all occurring over a very short period of time. Which I think is important to the story, and that's really cool.
And we can discuss for a moment later how the aesthetics did change between even the last one, which we watched on Sky Stage, and this one. All the sets completely different, costumes very different. Still the same spirit of the thing. I personally preferred it now, but, like, they're both super valid.
Yeah.
Thought the lighting was great, sound design was great, costumes were beautiful. I thought this show was very good for people watching. I have, like, there's several kids, younger actresses in Hoshigumi who I like quite a lot, and I was never disappointed by what they were getting up to in the back of the bar and beer hall scenes. I liked this for Benny and Irie, the top combi together, quite a lot, actually. I thought it allowed them to do some very touching, you know, I don't know, they just got to do more, like, touching romantic, but still completely at odds.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just thought it was a very interesting dynamic for those two
Yeah.
that I have not gotten to see before.
I liked it for them a surprising amount, too.
Right.
Like, I did not, like, I saw Scarlet Pimpernel, and it was, like, not my personal favorite Scarlet Pimpernel, and I was kind of, like, confused about a lot of the shows that they were giving Benny's Hoshigumi until Another World happened, and I thought that was, like, perfect.
Yeah.
And then they announced Elbe, and I was like, okay, we're kind of going back to serious, and I don't know that I was expecting it to be as good as it was, but, like, I mean, like I said, I liked it a lot more than I thought I did, but I also specifically thought it was a good, like, a much better choice for mostly Benny, but also both of them than I ever imagined it was going to be.
Yeah, I think they're both a lot more well-rounded than they necessarily get credit for being, because comedy is, like, in both of their wheelhouses.
They're both
so
really
much.
good at it, but they were both very good at this too. And it's tough because, like, I don't know, neither Carl or Marguerite are, like, good people.
No, there's one good person in the show, and it's Florian, played by Rei Makoto.
Yeah, they're not good. They're both kind of annoying.
But I liked them both. Yeah, they both yell a lot. That's definitely more Benny and Irie's fault than anything.
That's true.
There was a lot of yelling. There's always a lot of
yelling.
yelling. I wonder if that's about to change.
But
we'll see.
Probably. But for, like, despite that, for some reason, I just thought it suited them both really, really well.
It's because when they were, it makes it all the more touching. Like,
that's
especially
true.
like Benny, particularly how brash and like unlikable she is as Carl makes the moments where she's like, "Oh, I messed this up, and I'm really heartbroken over this person," like 10 times more potent. I think.
And I think it's also cool because I think that's, like, kind of real for Benny. Like, I think a lot of people struggle to take Benny seriously, and I think she takes Takarazuka very seriously.
She loves it so much.
So, like, that's kind of cool too. And she, like, does come off as, like, very comedic and very silly
very
a lot
flippant.
sometimes. Yeah,
as a person.
So, like, it, like, the parts where, like you said, Carl was very, like, brash and all over the place and, like, being kind of rude.
That's, like,
and,
what you expect from her.
That's
and then
exactly
she turned around and gave you, like, some very touching stuff as well.
And that I found very poignant.
Same. Sorry, very quickly, the other two things I liked are me personally, just things I happen to love. Amato Cannon playing the child, Yanni, I guess, yells all the time. All she ever does is have her fists balled up and her shoulders to her ears. She's very angry all the time. She has, like, injured dog energy, like, very scared. She's so funny. I fell a lot in love with her from that. That, and then Kai's last song on the bridge, very touching, very nice, last song for her, and then she culminates it with, like, one of the worst stage kisses I've ever seen, as she does, because she just, like, really never got to learn how to do them. She does a good dip, but, like, boy, not the best kiss I've ever seen.
I'm gonna quickly mention, I don't know that there's anybody left on the planet who doesn't know, but just in case, Maisy's a Kai fan.
I didn't mention that. I miss her already.
Luckily.
But we don't really get to miss her on Instagram, so. Yeah, so for many reasons, but including that it was her last show. Yeah. Part of the reason I saw it, most of the reason I saw it so many times, I think.
Yeah. It was her last show, and they added her character for this. And I think they did a good job. It was, like, it didn't really disrupt the story. Like, they didn't... it didn't feel like they really, like, inserted a whole new storyline. They just did a really good job,
They used her scenes with all the other sailors as more of, like, scene change.
Yeah.
Fillers, like, they'll come out in front of the curtain and do their thing while there's bigger stuff happening backstage, I think.
Yeah, and...
It wasn't disruptive at all, I
Kai
agree.
was, like, the dad sailor, like, the only sailor that actually had his act together.
Yeah, and had to keep his act together for the rest of them too. Like, the scene that we both liked quite a lot.
Yep.
In front of the curtain where everyone's just yelling about what they personally need. And then Kai has to try to break it up with a very soft voice.
It was very good. Yeah, that's a good segue into my favorite.
What are your favorite things?
That's one. I have two favorite scenes. It's hard.
I have many.
That's one of my favorite scenes. I actually really love all of the scenes with the sailors, and a a lot of the who were the sailors? Aside from Kai, the sailors were Sayori and Mayuki and Shinoryu and Amahana Emma.
Mm-hmm.
And then Amato Kanon, who's playing like a bratty teenage boy who wants to be a sailor, but really nobody's taking him seriously.
Yeah.
So yeah, all of the scenes with that group were my favorite. They were all really funny.
With honorary Mizuno Yuri was with those as well.
Yeah, Mizuno Yuri played Betty, who is Carl's sister, come out of the countryside to say hi to him, but can't seem to like track him down, but runs into his crew. And then falls in love with Tobias,
which understandable.
And then they get married.
Sure do.
But yeah, I love those scenes. I specifically love, like, none of the people in the sailor crew are people who I particularly like. Not that I like don't like them, but they're never people who have stood out to me in any way. And I found them all super charming, despite not really having much backstory or like opportunity to show off their personalities. But they were all so funny and so charming. Mayuki was especially funny. She was like the big dumb sailor who's always eating. She was Oliver. She was just very, very charming.
She was.
Yeah, I fell in love with Mizuno Yuri watching Elpe because she's just so... Oh,
her character's cute.
Her character's really cute. She talks in a really stupid, like, country bumpkin accent and, like, bows all the way down to her toes. And her body's, like, really, like, weird and flexible.
I don't know if flexible or, like, noodly. She's lovely.
Cute.
She is lovely, though.
She's so cute. And on the last day, she cried so much when she and Kai ran off to get married together.
She did. And as a side note, not to say much about it, but I did go to Kai's farewell party that night, and Mizuno Yuri and Amato Kanon were both crying to the point that they couldn't speak any words, like stumbling over, choking over, and like people had to talk for them a little. I think because I'll talk about it in a second. Kanon was Kai's role in the Shinko.
Oh, yeah.
And also Johnny does take over for Tobias at the end, and Mizuno Yuri has been partnered with her quite a lot,
Yuri's been her wife in
Alde.
Yeah, and like, yeah, they were paired in reviews a few times.
Clearly loves her a lot.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I loved all the scenes with the sailors. There's one scene in particular that I especially love that's just like so beautifully directed. Like, there's like a big long scene where like, Marguerite goes home and like tries to like introduce Carl to her family and get her family to accept him, and her family absolutely does not. And then
Florian sure does his best though, her fiance.
Yeah, and then Carl is like he gauges what the situation is and decides it's best to remove himself from it. So he goes and talks to her dad, pretends to accepts money that her dad offers to bribe him to leave his daughter alone, and then uses taking the money as an excuse to be like, I didn't love you that much anyway, I just kind of wanted some money, and like to kind of try and break it cleanly and leave them alone and leave the house. And then like
that part is pretty heartbreaking.
It's pretty harsh.
The way he treats Margit is horrific.
So yeah, then the whole scene in the house is like awful, and then Carl is outside and like the set spins around and he's like kind of like softly crying and like saying to himself like what her future is gonna look like without him, and you can see Marguerite like angrily playing the piano through the window over his shoulder, and like a single leaf falls off of a tree, and it's just really sad and beautiful. And I like that part a lot.
That's one of the scenes more than any. That scene and the one with the two on the dock, like when they first meet, kind of. Those are two of the scenes that evolved by far the most throughout the entirety of the show. Yeah, and I really thought Benny particularly started like hitting some nice marks. It was never the same. She was definitely playing with it and very in the moment the whole time, which I was impressed by. And obviously sometimes when you're that in the moment it falls flat, but sometimes it also like, boy does it hit. And I think she hit far more often than not, which I was pleased about.
This is very not chronological, but I think one of the
No, you'll have to watch it yourself if you want it chronologically. I mean, if you want to see it, let me know.
I'm gonna go way back to something I probably should have said first now,
the staircase dance rocked at the very beginning.
I think also legitimately one of my favorite things about Elbe is just that it's old, and it's like an old classic Takarazuka fantasy, like, the whole premise is real dumb. It's just like this ship is on shore for a couple
Dark
days.
on the Town.
Yeah, it is like Dark on the Town.
It's on the town, but like darker.
But like sad. And yeah, Marguerite doesn't like, she's from this, like, she's just a sheltered girl from this rich family who's like decided who she's gonna, like, she's gonna marry her childhood friend who is like, their parents are like business partners or friends or something like that. And that's Florian, who's played by Kojo, who plays way too sweet of a man.
The nicest man.
Like a much sweeter man than has ever existed.
Yeah, I understand why Marguerite's sister is in love with him. Yes. Another heartbreaking scene.
Yes.
Wait, but I completely understand why she's in love with him.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
But then but she feels stifled by like everything being decided for her, and she decides to just like take a lot of money and run away from home. And
which we've all been there.
Right. Just a very sheltered rich kid and does not understand how to like function in the world whatsoever, but she wanders into this pub where there's like a beer festival going on, and all the sailors are like hanging out on their day off, and she falls in love with Carl, who's the polar opposite of the person her dad's trying to get her to marry, in sort of like an act of childish rebellion, I would say. But so it's love at first sight. Carl is like an awful person. It's not like especially believable that this would happen, but I love it because it's like a Takarazuka fairy tale. Mm-hmm. You know, I just think that's really cool.
I agree.
Like, I think both Carl and Florian are like perfect examples of the like Takarazuka fantasy guy.
They're just two very different fantasies.
Yeah, like Florian is like, men are not that good. No. He's just way too good of a man.
And he tries in the scene with the party. He does sure try to like Carl.
Yeah, he's too sweet, too nice, treats everybody too well, too selfless, clean, looks great in a tuxedo,
plays the piano.
Yeah, perfectly. And then Carl is the polar opposite, where he's just this, like, rough and tumble, like, bad boy, but who secretly really loves you. And it's just whether you want to be spoiled or, like, you know, used and thrown away.
The sailors were all pretty hot. To clarify, even the background ones, if you're into, like, again, to compare to On the Town, if you want, like, the Navy sailors, you got On the Town, but then these ones are all, like, overalls and cigarettes, which works for me personally. Yeah.
So, like, I talked to a lot of people who didn't love Elbe for various reasons, and, like, I can totally see that, especially in 2019 or whatever, that this is not the most, like, compelling storyline. It's definitely not progressive. No. But I personally am very into the, like, vintage Takarazuka fantasy that it presented.
And I also think that, in all fairness, we discussed this earlier, like any other show, I think a lot of the dislike does come from, like, I don't like what Benny and Irie do, which is perfectly valid. Yeah. If you don't like what any top star does, you're probably not going to love anything they're in. I know I've had that problem.
And this is very, very top heavy. I wouldn't say, like, hey, I think Elbe is a masterpiece and anybody would love it. I think you specifically have to enjoy Benny and Irie to like Elbe. Or the show very, very much.
Yeah. I think below Koto,
there's
time really dropped. Like, Kai got some because they wrote something for her, but they had to write something for her because there was no one else to give her.
Yeah, it's not like a super great role for anybody else.
The only thing, if they hadn't written Tobias, it would have had to be Inspector Kaufman, who Tenji Mitsuki plays, who speaks, like, 10
by
lines.
The way, like, she comes stalking through the audience in, a chase scene, like a we're looking for Carl scene at one point, and
I had eye contact with her once. Like, terrifying.
Mickey coming at you with that face in the audience is very scary. Very intimidating.
She sure is. She's flanked by the much taller Todo Jun and Haruto Yuho, who are typecast as cops and bodyguards in every show, and them next to Mickey is a treat as well, I would say.
Yeah. And then shortly after we saw this, they aired the 1983 version on Sky Stage, which we did watch. So it was cool to see, like, what they kept the same and what they changed. A little difficult because, I don't know, I assume it's because back in the 70s and 80s when Takarazuka was aired on TV, this was pre-Sky Stage, so it was probably aired on, like, a regular TV channel. They probably had a time slot to fill, and they're all heavily cut, and I think Sky Stage just kept those edits and airs them occasionally. So there are scenes missing from...
You didn't see the sailors at all.
Hardly at all. It's hard to tell what's missing. Like, I know the big, like, German parade at the beginning was probably something that was added.
That was added.
But that part of the original was cut out of the broadcast, so I don't know what was there instead.
Yeah, that's a good point.
In fact, a lot of the stuff that was added was cut, that may have been changed by Ueda Kumiko, was not in the original recording, so it's hard to know what specifically it was. But yeah, it was a lot of the scenes were exactly the same. It was just kind of cool to see, like, how the styles have changed over the years. Like,
and I would personally, I think, okay, so who was playing Margit? Do you remember?
Oh, no, I should.
We'll look into it. The point is, Musume Aku, I think especially, and I'm not an expert on older shows, but definitely used to seem older than they are now. Right now, they seem very, very young in a lot of places.
But interestingly, because of that, and again, the, like, costume choices in the 80s in Takarazuka, not the best, but it sure looked like a grown-ass woman dressed as a 12-year-old girl in the old one, whereas Airi was believably, like, whatever, an 18 or 19-year-old girl who was like, I'm gonna go have my own life.
And I was actually gonna say, while I do generally prefer the Musume to not look like and sound like they're 13, I think for this show, that was actually beneficial. Yeah.
It was just, like, a weird, like, she was, the Musume lead in the 80s,
very good.
We'll put her name in the blog. I can't believe I'm blanking on it. Was very, like, wearing, like, kids' party dresses and had her, like, weird wig in, like, 2 pigtail bows. And it was just weird styling.
The beer Matsuri dance in the bar actually looked to me like a church.
It did,
like a church party.
The scene was like a
gym.
community center.
Like a community center church gym.
Yeah.
Which I think would be great for Footloose, for example, but maybe fell a little... I would think I wanted more of a gritty bar. Yeah, personally.
It was interesting. But then, like, the Jin Mitsuki played Carl, and, like, I thought she was, like, the style of Otokiaku back then is just so different. Like, and I think people who look like her nowadays for sure still exist, and they end up getting typecast as, like, dads and old men and stuff, but for whatever reason in, like, the 70s and 80s people were into that. Although I guess
I'm into it now.
I'm into it now too. I can't make a sweeping judgment on that because there were for sure baby face, right, that's it. Wakaba Hiromi was Marguerite. There were for sure baby faced Otokiaku back then too. Like Taira Michi, who played Florian, like, definitely in the same style as Koto for sure. But yeah, I like the whole, like, kind of, like, gross 80s fashion thing, I think suited Carl well. Versus,
that's fair. I did really like the, like, deep V-neck, like, bell bottoms were fun. Were fun. I'm not comfortable saying one is better for the other. I think I'm just comfortable saying you will prefer one over the other.
Definitely. But yeah, it was cool to watch and compare those two.
Yes. I also did, like, we briefly mentioned the dance, like the grand staircase thing. Elbe kind of opened, like, a review, which confused me initially, but I was personally very into. I know opinions differ on that. But I appreciated that it opened with, like, a dance on the grand staircase and, like, a version of the Beer Matsuri song that's throughout the whole show. And I appreciated it because it did give people who you will not really see in LA the chance to still be seen at some point, because it is such a top-heavy show. Yeah, it didn't... I mean, I guess it, like, kind of set up the whole Beer Matsuri mood thing. It didn't fit the mood of the rest of the show, but it did showcase... It did showcase kind of all the upperclassmen, especially. It was kind of just like if you took the parade at the end of a 2-act and just tacked it on to the beginning of a 1-act.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
So I personally liked it, but I know that varies between different people.
Well, speaking of reviews, are you good to...
I am. I want to really briefly mention the Shinko really quick.
Oh, yeah.
So I got to see the Shinko of this in Tokyo, which was very sweet. It was the last Shinko for the 98th. I was pretty impressed by a lot of the actors, and then, like, a lot of them also kind of fell flat because it was the Shinko, and they have, like, one night to prove what they've got, which is very difficult. The leads were Kiwami Shin played, Carl. She was super good, a little shaky, on a lot of the music, but, I appreciated that there were a lot of places where she tried different things, from Benny, which I think is really nice to see, especially in a Shinko. Amahana Emma was Florian, and she was good. She's very solid. I'm not sure if she's found, like, her specific thing that she's gonna, like, grasp onto personality-wise to make herself super stand out. But she is very solidly talented. So she did good. I have no complaints there. Amato Cannon, who played Johnny in the normal show, played Tobias in this one. And honestly, I don't think it's because I'm just biased towards Tobias, but I really appreciated her in the role because she is the one who more than anyone did different things. So she was, like, not doing the same stuff as Kai, which, as much as I love, was really nice to see. She's also very tall. She has a lot of very explosive energy. I was impressed from, like, the first note she sang, and I was very lukewarm, didn't really know her at all before. So I was happy to see that. And then Margit was played by Mizuno Yuri, who played Betty.
My new favorite person.
Boy, and she is so cute. She is very noodly, like, physically. She
has dimples where I'm not sure I've ever seen dimples before.
Right. As far as her performance goes, however...
I
don't want to say anything. I don't know. I don't want to be... She's not the best singer I've ever heard. I was very much rooting for her the whole time. She may just be an alto who they're not letting sing alto. She may not have her breath control quite down yet. She is 102nd.
She may just not be a good singer.
She might just not be a very good singer.
Yeah.
Her acting was very cute, very earnest, very in the moment.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like she was giving anything canned.
Yeah.
But the singing was a little rough.
Nothing about her, like, abilities and everything about her energy is what has grabbed me.
And I feel like that's why Hoshigumi as a whole has grabbed me personally. But I digress. Everyone was pretty cute in it. Haruto Yuho stuck as a dad again, but did fantastic. Yep. It was sweet.
I love Shinko.
I liked seeing it. Yeah, I'm glad I got to see the 98's last Shinko, because now Emma is out, so maybe the main players the next would be, like, Shin and Cannon, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Looking forward to it.
Oh, and Arisa Hitomi was fantastic. Got stuck in, what's her name?
Which role was it?
The Veronica, barmaid.
Oh, Emma Naoki,
thank you.
Oh, but that rocks.
She was very, very good. I liked it played by a younger person.
Yeah.
Emma Naoki also fantastic, obviously, but Arisa Hitomi is very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
I hope she stays in Hoshigumi, and I hope she continues to get good stuff, even with the impending
her not being top star
even
situation.
with the impending change in leadership. But yes, that is all I have to say about Elbe.
Cool.
I loved it.
I
10
loved
out
it
of 10
too.
From me personally.
I also loved Estrellas and did not expect to love Estrellas. Like,
Same.
It was, I don't even know why, like, I don't know. I can't even, like, fully articulate why it grabbed me. Like, it aired on NHK, like, 3 days after it opened in Takarazuka in January, and I watched the NHK version on video, like, before I actually saw it live, which was a weird experience.
Yeah, and the NHK also came out before the digest did.
Oh, yeah. And the NHK version was just, like, shot very beautifully, and it had, like, it gave it, like, a real concert energy, which I normally don't like in reviews, but for some reason I really liked it in this review. I don't know if I just liked all the song choices. I liked that the whole thing was, like, kind of dark and blue. I liked that a lot of the numbers were, like, pretty sexy. It was just good.
Right, yeah. What it struck me as is I was not around as a fan when Chie was top of Hoshigumi, but I have many friends who love her a lot, so I've seen a lot of her reviews, and it just, from the start, and my opinion of it kind of changed, but it really struck me as, like, a Chie type of review.
I didn't think of it like that, but now that you mentioned it, I completely agree.
Yeah.
So yeah, it had some of that, like, old Hoshigumi energy, maybe. But I also just really liked the song choices. I liked, I liked the aesthetics of it. It was very, like, it was a little confusing. Yeah, when the, like, description came out, it was like,
first of all, it sounded like everyone's tied on.
Yeah, it sounded like everyone's tied on. It was like, this is gonna be Latin? Spanish?
Right, Spanish. And by the way, even today, I cannot... Carly pointed out that there's one point where they, like, do a nice little,
like, a flamenco
clap, but I cannot for the life of me find where the Spanish influence allegedly is.
If you squint
the
real hard.
The kind of has a guitar part that you might interpret that way.
Yeah.
But boy, it's not Spanish.
They're not, like, orange or brown or anything.
And I was very scared Kai was gonna go out orange. She didn't.
Yeah. It's just, like, a nice it kind of felt like...
It's a good review.
Not even just a concert, but to me it felt like one of those like music specials that they put on around New Year's on like the major TV networks. And I like those. Maybe I like nostalgically like those, and this made me feel nostalgic in a way, and that's why I liked it.
That might be true.
But I liked it.
I know I particularly usually like reviews that have like a bit of a plot going through them, even for half of it. Like Batty is obviously in its own category, but even like The Entertainer, which I personally loved, had like the whole New York through line, like the auditioning thing. So I do really like the ones with stories and places for people to like stop and ad-lib and like have a good time with scenes. Estrella's had exactly 0 scenes, 0 spoken lines. Yeah, it had a sweet Chizume, but like beyond that.
What's your favorite number?
My favorite number, actually, I always want to say the tie-down medley they gave Nami Hiroki Katorireira and Seki Yorito was very sweet. Amakake Sakura is too young to be really featured in that. But the 4 tie-down-sha had a really sweet Kai mostly medley that I loved very, very much. That aside, I think the like rocky all black fishnet Tonight Is What It Means to Be Young.
I think that's my favorite.
80s, it's not my favorite. It's my second favorite. My real favorite was the white, like all white flowy costumes. I don't even know, what do you categorize that number as? It's like the whole troupe, 11 o'clock.
Yeah, it's in a like they do one that's that style in a lot of reviews. Like every review. It's like half the troupe is playing the like evil half, and half of them are playing the good half, and like evil looks like it's gonna prevail and it's all interpretive dance, and then good prevails, and then everyone comes out in white and like sings together. Yeah,
oh my god.
It's tropey. It's Takarazuka, but truly is. It's emotional.
But boy, and I do cry a lot, but every single time I saw it, that got me. It's Benny and Irie dancing, like falling in love in their beautiful white costumes. Everyone looks kind of like a butterfly or a bug or a bird or something. Kai is pretty featured in it. Seiichi comes out with her like black scorpion fire people. They all dance. There's a thunderstorm. Koto comes out and does this beautiful dance solo, like, and restores peace. I don't know, that it touches me beyond what I could have imagined. So that was my favorite number.
Tonight Is What It Means to Be Young is my favorite. I love the progression of it. I love how it starts slow and like people come out on stage one by one and it ends up with almost everybody. I like the
soloists at the beginning, fantastic by the way.
Yeah, the dance like the featured dancers at the beginning also, like, this is how I discovered that Hiroka Yu can dance like so really well. Sazanami Reira is a freaking fantastic dancer.
They're both very well, and I didn't know either of them could dance because they're upperclassmen and get kind of shafted to the back.
Yeah.
But boy, they're good.
And they had some like very, very dynamic like dance solos while Benny's singing the beginning of that song. And
with a cigarette, which she like puts out on the stairs beneath her feet.
And then when everybody comes out, Mickey's wearing leather pants, and that was good too.
Right, that's its own thing as well. It was really sweet though.
Yeah.
It was a good number.
I liked it a lot. Oh, let's briefly talk about what happened on Senshiraku.
Boy, Senshiraku, which was Tokyo Senshiraku, which was for me emotional already. We were already in a state. It is what it is. Elbe was great, fantastic. Yeah. Everyone cried, so much applause. Beautiful moment. Estrella started, and on the first note, when Benny starts to sing, I think, wow, I've never heard her try to do this sexy, breathy thing before. And I was like, maybe she's been crying. Maybe they were all crying backstage, because, like, I don't know, it's a big...
Everybody loves crying.
It's a big tie-on. Like, maybe it was just, like, Benny especially. Like,
yeah,
maybe,
Benny's a crybaby.
Maybe something happened. And then it just, like, kept going. Like, she couldn't sing at all, or talk, really. Yeah. It was super breathy, and then I started thinking maybe it was a mic thing. Yeah. But then Koto started singing, and I was like, Koto sounds fine. I thought it was a mic too. I thought something was wrong. And then even Kai started singing, and I'm like, Kai's also fine. So like, yeah. Oh boy.
I was in the live view, and I thought something was wrong with the connection of like Benny to like the camera or whatever. And then someone next to me was like, and I was like, well, at least I'm not crazy. At least she also noticed it. And then in the Chuzume, when
it was
there's
obvious
like
long before the Chuzume though.
Yeah, it was obvious long before the Chuzume, but then in the Chuzume, in the parts where Benny would like yell and talk, and it was the perfect moments to be like,
it would have been the
yelling at the people who were like about to tie it on. Yeah. Benny was like, sorry about my voice over and over again, and I was like, oh, something happened.
God, I felt so bad too. She did kind of like beat the horse dead, but at the same time, like, I can't imagine the panic that must have set in, because she really couldn't sing her parts.
Yeah, and she must have lost her voice on literally the last note of Elbe, because when I say
because it sounded fine,
the entire thing was completely fine. I mean, she didn't crack. I didn't notice anything.
No.
And then in the curtain call, again, when she should have been like, everybody's retiring, I love them, she was like, God, I can't believe I lost my voice today of all days 6,000 times.
And I'm like,
and then Kai had to be like, it's okay.
Yeah, boy. I don't know, but I do want to speak to that. Sucked. It sucked really bad for a lot of reasons. It's the Taidansha, especially, poor things, and poor Benny. But I will speak to the fact that no one, and I know these are working professionals and it's literally their job, but it didn't throw anyone off.
No.
Like, no one missed a beat. The quality of no one's performances suffered. Like, we probably lost a lot of playfulness.
Yeah.
But, like, the thing didn't suffer because Benny lost her voice, because everyone very much stepped up around her.
I agree.
I noticed in Tonight Is What It Means to Be Young, which was one of the first songs she had after she lost her voice, I think some people were singing with her.
Yeah, because there was a note that didn't come out at all.
Mickey, I think, was singing with her, which thank God.
Right.
But so that was just too bad.
Yeah.
An incredible thing to witness. But
it was incredible to witness, but
and her voice is better now.
Yes,
I will say her voice is completely better.
We've seen her since then, and it is.
And she was sounding
better.
fantastic, actually, in commentary.
Yeah. Let's segue to Algiers, because that also goes with Estrellas, which we just talked about.
Yes.
I guess let's go backwards since we just talked about Estrellas and start from Estrellas.
Yeah, sounds good. How did you like it?
I liked it a lot. I mean, I liked the review a lot, so I still liked it a lot. Like, Koto being the lead of anything isn't gonna ever, like, make it worse for me.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. She's so fantastic. She's so, like, ready. She's so, like, emotional and earnest, and it's just very nice to see her in the top spot. Reviews on tour always feel, like, kind of weird and small, because the staircase has, like, 3 stairs, and there's, like, a third of the troupe, but they all, like, tried very hard. They didn't change that much. Koto sang all of Benny's numbers and almost all of her own as well. Yeah, they replaced, like, the second number after the opening, when she sings like the scene change, Starlight Parade, like, by herself while everyone else is changing. It was Mizuno Yuri and Shin and
Shido was in it.
She was in it also.
Yeah, and I think,
or was it Canon?
Was it Honoka? It wasn't Canon.
Or was it
Honoka?
It was only 3 people.
No, there was really.
Yeah.
Oh well, they changed it.
It was 3 underclassmen.
Shame I don't remember, because I do remember loving them all. It was sweet. It didn't have the same impact, but it was sweet.
And then they changed all of the songs that were in, like, Kai's Taidan medley, and they did it. That was Ai-chan and Anru,
which
who
was
were
very
Doki,
sweet.
And it was very cute.
It was playful. It was nice to see.
And then they added, after Tonight Is What It Means to Be Young, they added, like, Shido. And who was Shido with?
Sakuraba Mai.
Yeah, Shido and Sakuraba Mai had, like, a jazzy number that they inserted so that Koto could change and still do back, because originally...
Because who else is going to do back?
Yeah, Tonight Is What It Means to Be Young and Back were...
different casts.
Yeah, different casts, but right next to each other.
Yes. And I do want to say that Tonight Is What It Means to Be Young featured Riri Hanaka, who is a 103 Musumiyaku, who, to my knowledge, also maybe not the best singer, maybe just an alto, I can't tell. But boy, can she
can dance, and she has arm muscles.
And her, like, I don't want to say sex appeal about a girl who's, like, very much younger than me. Maybe
she's not that much younger than me. She's a 20-something-year-old professional performer, and you can say she has sex appeal.
Hella sex appeal.
She does.
She has, like, this energy, like, that you would see in, like, a very seasoned otaku who, like, really knew what they were about.
Yep.
She is captivating.
Yeah, I agree. She's very small, but
she's the smallest. She's always at the very end of the kick line, but boy, she's good.
Yeah.
I was surprised to see her.
I was too. I read on Twitter that because she's so young and can't sing, like, I read on Twitter that she was in that number, and I thought that they just didn't have enough, like, aggressive dancing otokyaku to fill all the dance solos at the beginning, so I thought she was gonna, like, come out in pants and be with them, because she's such a great dancer. But no, she got to be Irie.
Then when Irie comes out,
and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, that was good.
Irie Hanaka. But yeah, she's captivating is a good word.
She's captivating. She was, side note, Betty in the Shinko. So cute. She runs very fast. Everyone on Twitter was very about how cute she is. Betty is also a non-singing role, but boy was she the cutest. So I digress.
Yeah.
Back to Tour Estrellas.
Yeah. Anything else notable that changed?
Actually, yeah. No, something notable that didn't change, that I really wish did. The pair dance Same soloists, because Anu and Honoka were both still in it. Same song, same dance.
That was a little weird.
I really didn't like it, actually. Not because I'm, like, sentimental and like, oh, that's Benny and Irie's, no one else should have it. But because it was so well suited to Benny and Irie, that's not the same thing that Minori and Koto need.
It was very much, like, choreographed to their specific energy. And I thought it was very good.
Benny's goofy dance moves that she needs, Koto doesn't need. Benny didn't have a lift with Irie. Koto could have done a lift. You know? So that was maybe the part that I most did not care for.
That's a good point.
Yeah. But it was, like, they were very good. It's not lack of talent on Minori or Koto's parts. It's just not right
for them.
They didn't change it. And I feel like, if anything, they should have changed that.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, overall, I liked it a lot.
It was good. It was sweet.
And I liked Algiers, too. Algiers is another old show that they've done 100,000 times. And it's also kind of like... I don't know, an old Takarazuka fantasy. It's not like... But I liked it. I actually, about both Algiers and Elbe, I liked the endings so much because neither of them are what I expected the endings to be.
Exactly.
Like... That was hands down my favorite. Like, my two favorite things about Algiers were probably...
I don't want to spoil that one, because that one was
that's
very
a good point.
surprising.
Yeah, the ending is
just
very surprising if you haven't seen Algiers, and I guess we won't talk about it, but I liked it.
I know, I liked it too. In that, I want to say that Honoka, who plays a blind character, Annabelle, God, her work was beautiful. And also, she was a highlight of Asturias for me as well.
Her voice
is beautiful. She puts a lot of hard work into her acting. I also hope I get to see more of her. She's still in Shinko's, but she was fantastic.
Not for long. This is her last year.
True, huh? Yeah. She's really good.
But yeah, Algiers has a very, like...
West Side Story?
Yeah.
Bootleg West Side Story.
Bootleg West Side Story aesthetic, especially when
with
it
Ai-chan.
opens. Yeah.
Especially with Ai-chan as, like, an antagonistic...
Bernardo part 2.
It was just Bernardo again.
But, yeah, especially, like... The costumes in the beginning with all the, like, street punk kids.
Doing their, like, ballet dance.
Yeah, and the dance that was very obviously a West Side Story ripoff was, like, it seemed like
audition sequence.
They, like, just wanted to do that and then kind of came up with the story later. But it's fine. Like, Koto looked great. I enjoyed very much the, like, bad kid aesthetic.
She looked good. She was obviously fantastic work. A lot of them did very, very well.
Yeah.
Sakura of Amai was very
Sakura of
good.
Amai was great. Her character was awful. Like,
no, that's the thing. That's when I realized she was so good, is because I really actually hated her. Like, I was like, God, she's the worst. And then I was like, oh, she's doing her job very well, and that's why. Yeah. She has a nice voice. She did very good.
Minori was very good. I like that they gave that role to Minori because I think it was better, like, with her, like, maturity. Like, I think it would have come off, like, I don't know. Like, I kind of was able to believe that, she had what's
a mature
his name?
character.
Julian's
like,
best interest in mind rather than, like, stalking
that's
him
true,
just
and
to be creepy or whatever.
That might not have really come across with anyone else.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. I want to shout out to Shiro Tainatsu in this, playing the
so
mom.
Funny.
What's her name? What's the character's name?
I don't know. The Baroness is...
Whatever.
The Baroness. Yeah, like the Baron's
Asamizu
wife.
Ryo, who was the father figure. Whatever. God, she was very funny. Algiers was not a funny show, but she injected some much-needed humor and, like, ditzy wife. She was lovely.
She was very hilarious. And I want to shout out to Shin, who was really good. Like, this is the first time I, like, noticed Shin,
she was doing
like,
some good stuff.
Doing some good stuff. She was very impressive. She was, like, Honoka is, like, the blind daughter of a very powerful, influential person, and Shin is, like, her, I don't want to say assistant, but he's, like, employed by the family and takes care of her, and is, like, obviously in love with her and cannot do anything about it because of class differences and stuff like that.
My favorite. That's the good stuff.
And, I don't want to, like, spoil what happens, but just,
but boy, does he love her.
Yeah, his interactions with her are very heartbreaking, and then him in the end is also, like, oh my god.
Shocking as well, yeah.
So
it was good.
Yeah, Shin was very good. I liked it. I liked it because it was, like, simple and easy to understand and then had a shocking ending, which honestly is the most I can ask from a like, national tour.
Yeah. I was not captivated, but I see that it was good. It was solid.
Yeah.
You can't do much on tour anyway. Yeah. Like, I thought the sets were sparse, but, like, what are they gonna do?
They can't. The costumes were, like, they just wore costumes they needed in Estrellas too. It made the time period very ambiguous.
Oh, yeah, it was... Yeah, but I mean, that's, again, like, a constraint issue.
It's a tour thing. Yeah.
It was good, though.
So I can't
It was
blame
nice to see
them for
Koto.
Yeah, it was good.
And her troupe.
And then like, and then we saw Kamatari after that, and I think we both expected to like it significantly less.
I thought I was gonna like Algiers at least 10 times more than Kamatari.
But I liked Kamatari a lot more than I expected to.
I personally like Kamatari 10 times more than I liked Algiers.
It was beautiful. I'm like a little sad because I think one of its best assets is how beautiful it was, and I think a lot of that is gonna get lost on the DVD. Like the scenery and the lighting especially were just really, really beautiful.
Yeah, the way the music, sound design flowed and everything also was fantastic. The costumes for that one were beautiful.
Yeah. It's not super hard. It's funny now to say it's not hard to understand. But I guess at some point
there's a misunderstanding.
Yeah, the description that, like, the blurb about the show that came out at the time of the show announcement was different. Like, it changed at some point, and it got translated for the wiki at the beginning, and then I guess no one realized it changed.
So we would know what was happening in
but it was completely incorrect.
Is that not what happened in the story? Like, the original thing was like, when Ari's character dies, so we're there the whole time, and I'm like, when does she die?
Yeah,
like,
I kept thinking I misunderstood so much that I couldn't even follow that Ari was two different characters. So, yeah, at first I was like, I have no idea what's going on because I kept waiting for things to happen that never happened. But then afterwards, when I, like, went back and retranslated the new summary and then, like, read up about the, like, event that actually took place in it.
Because it's a true story.
Yeah, the beginning of it, at least, is based on true events. It made perfect sense. Like, it's not that hard to follow. It was, like, it's very old Japanese history.
The names are difficult.
That's true.
The names are very difficult.
The names are difficult, and they're difficult in a way that, like, I can't tell what's a name and what's a word.
Partially because
like,
the names are, like, 6 words long. Yeah. Like, boy, do they go.
So sometimes the dialogue is a little hard to follow, but overall the story is really not that hard to follow. There were 3 things that four things that I especially liked about it, but one was that Mitsuru was fantastic.
She was so good.
I like also
very much the lead in the entire first act.
Yeah, definitely. When the first act was happening, I was like, is she gonna retire? Like, it seemed like a present for her specifically, but then she, like, wasn't in the second act at all.
Yeah, and not to hijack your things you liked, but speaking of people who I feel like might retire based on their performances in Kamatari, I have not seen Tenju Mitsuki do so much in a role since maybe Romeo and Juliet. Yeah. She had two songs. Yeah. 2 very good songs. She spoke a whole lot. She was kind of the narrator, storyteller of, like, a lot of it more than anything.
And she was awesome.
Boy, she's so good. She was playing, like, a slightly unhinged character, which is what she does best. Again, if you've seen her Mercutio, you've seen this character as well. Yeah. So good. But, boy, it was a lot to give her. And Shugobi is coming up for God of Stars.
And not even, like, a villain, just, like, kind of an unhinged narrator.
Just, like, a little off.
It was interesting. Yeah.
She was, I think, my favorite part.
Yeah. The other thing that I liked about it, well, these kind of tie together. I was, like, mad that they gave Benny and Irie a weird Nihomono for their last small theater, especially because everybody else has been getting concerts, and I was like, why pick something that so obviously doesn't suit... Well, not that a concert...
Not that a concert would suit Benny any better,
but, like, you know, it just seems like a weird choice when the last small theater is usually specifically a goodbye present. I ran into this random lady who somehow I don't know who this, she's just
like hearsay, obviously.
Just a middle-aged Takarazuka fan who I somehow ended up striking up a conversation about Kamatari with, and she said that apparently Benny loves Nihomono, has always wanted to do a Nihomono, and specifically asked the company for her final small theater to be actually Shinsengumi, because she's obsessed with Shinsengumi, but they wouldn't give her that because Diamond's doing Mibugi Shiden next. But they also wanted to do a story of the story of Kamatari is about like an uprising that overthrows like a tyrannical ruler, and it goes from it changes the eras in Japanese history. It changes from one era to another,
which I mean, great, because they got to make plenty of Reiwa jokes, which I think they wanted to throw in.
That's the thing. They specifically, she asked for Shinsengumi, but apparently they specifically wanted to write a story about an era changing to celebrate Reiwa, because the show opened a couple days
very soon after
the emperor abdicated. So I thought that was actually really cool. And then at the end of it, Irie has, like, a little monologue where she talks about, like, the Irie and Benny are married in the show.
And boy,
they, like,
have really sweet chemistry
They
in
have
that
sweet,
way.
they have very, like, old married couple chemistry where she, like, cooks for him and he's like, "Aw, thank you."
It's not super, I think, as a whole, those two, like, they're not, like, a super sexually charged, like,
yeah.
hot new love couple, but I think that their specific chemistry together is very, like, friendly.
Yeah.
Very, like, I know you so well, and I think just, like, always, but then it especially came out in this show.
And their characters kind of go through it in this show.
Boy, do they.
And then Irie has a speech that's like, boy, you know, we've been through so much together, and it was really hard, and we suffered a lot, but
that
overall,
cry,
I had
actually.
so much fun, and I can honestly say right now that I'm happy. Yeah. And I was like, oh, it's about them retiring. And it was so sweet. And when it ended, I actually already after hearing that, and like seeing how good the show is, when it ended, I had already changed my mind about it not being a good last show. Them. And then I had this weird conversation with this random lady, and I felt it even more strongly. Yeah. So again, it's like, it's bold of me to say it's easy to follow, because I did struggle in the theater and then did put it all together really easily once I like figured out what the history was and everything.
And I think if you saw it with no knowledge of like my Japanese, I have some for sure. It's not very good. The entire second act, and partially because I was expecting a different plotline, I didn't know what was happening. Like, I don't know. They do make a lot of it pretty obvious, but if you go in expecting something else,
it's hard. It's hard not to just not have confidence in yourself and assume you misunderstood something. But I think if I rewatched it, I would fully get everything.
Right, okay, maybe that's true.
It's not super hard to follow. And again, I do think you need to like the people in it, and I think you need to somewhat like Nihomono. But if you were like, ew, I'm gonna avoid this, and you're a Hoshigumi fan and specifically a Benny and Irie fan, I do think it's a good show.
I think liking one is enough, because again, I don't care for Nihomono, and this looked like a boring Nihomono, and I just went in with my love for the troupe, and still, it shocked me.
Yeah.
I was very pleased.
It was surprisingly good.
I would recommend you, if it comes out on Blu-ray, I would recommend you give it a watch if you can, I think. Cool. It was nice.
Yeah, I agree.
They were all nice.
They were all nice.
They've been doing good. And now, in the future, I guess with Hoshigumi, what's coming up, God of Star, Shugobi is like next week, so I'm very nervous about who's going to be going with Benny and Irie. Yeah. We have a lot of upperclassmen who might not hang in there, or might hang in there.
Yeah, I guess
or
we don't know.
Might hang in there. And then Koto and Maisari Hitomi's top debut will be
Mozart.
in October. Mozart, a rock opera.
God, yeah, I can't. Well, I'm
looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's one of those shows that I can't believe it's taken Takarazuka this long to do, and I'm not surprised that Koto's the one to finally get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of the future, I forgot to say in Tor Estrellas how, like, obviously dangerous in 5 years canon is gonna
be. I really appreciate you thinking that, because I agree. I'm captivated by her. She's really good. She's still getting all in Algiers. She was playing a child.
Yeah,
because she's like small enough.
She's short.
She has a little face.
Yeah,
she's cute. She's so cute. But boy, she's a kid.
She's
right
cute,
now.
but she also doesn't have a baby face. Like, once she went into like Otokiaku mode for the show, she has that like sharpness.
She got my attention in Back when Koto was also dancing in Back, and I feel like that says something.
Yeah.
She's good. She's gonna be good. She's very close in age to Shin, so I think it is gonna be one or the other, but we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, you never know what's gonna happen.
Too true. Transfers, which may be coming up. Transfers, the last show of 2019 is Hoshigumi's Bow Hall.
Oh yeah, that hasn't been announced yet.
Not yet, but as of this recording has not been announced.
Right.
Should be any day now.
Hopefully.
God.
But yeah, any final thoughts?
Nope, that hit it all.
Yep. Well, that's Hoshigumi. If any of you guys saw these or have any questions, please leave a comment.
I would be happy to discuss any of them at any time. So yeah, good stuff.
Okay.
It's been an emotional few months.
It has.
I would say.
For you especially.
Yeah, and then there's some tie-downs coming up too. There's been a lot of heavy ones this year.
It's not a good tie-down year. I don't like it at all.
The 89th class is wiped out. Rapidly dwindling.
The Ocean's Parade is very rough.
Ocean's Parade hurts.
I don't even want to think about Mia, honestly.
Yeah, Mia's out soon.
It's all tough, but Well, we'll see.
Yep, we'll see. In this wonderful hobby of ours, we'll see what happens next. No point in trying to predict it, because you don't know.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Whoever listened, thank you very much for listening.
And I think we also have another episode that's in the works, so hopefully it won't be as long before you hear from us again. All right. Thank you. Bye.
Many thanks to Michael B. and the Arcanum String Quartet for their wonderful arrangement of Sumire no Hana Sakugoro. And thank you, listeners, for enjoying our podcast.